General Synod 101, an introduction for delegates and visitors to the national meeting of the United Church of Christ, featuring information about what General Synod is and what to expect at the 2017 General Synod in Baltimore. Welcome everyone, I'm Hans Holznagel. Hans, the UCC answer guy from a few years back. I'm back with an introduction to one of the really remarkable events in the life of the United Church of Christ, our General Synod. If you're coming as a delegate or visitor, get ready for something just a little different from anything else in the life of the United Church of Christ. Sure, there's a business agenda that requires preparation now and important work once you arrive, but General Synod is so much more than that. This brief video will give you an overview of the many things that make this gathering what it is, and some of the particular things that will happen at General Synod 2017, officially the 31st General Synod of the United Church of Christ. First, fast facts, a few quick housekeeping details about this summer's event. We're at the Baltimore Convention Center in the beautiful Inner Harbor District. For delegates especially, it's important to get to Baltimore on time and stay until the end. The Synod runs Friday, June 30th through Tuesday, July 4th, 2017. Delegates' first official responsibilities are on Friday. Information sessions on major pieces of business are at 1 p.m., followed immediately by General Synod committee sessions. This is a big change from the past. Committees used to meet on Sunday morning, but will start in Baltimore at 2 o'clock Friday afternoon, so it's important delegates arrive by Friday morning. Another big change from past synods, closing worship will take place Tuesday afternoon, so Synod is over by the time downtown Baltimore goes into gridlock as thousands pour into the Inner Harbor area for July 4th fireworks that evening. Plus, there are pre-events on Thursday. For information on those and other activities, and for more details on anything you see in this video, visit our Synod website, ucc.org/synod. If you haven't already registered, do it soon online at ucc.org/synod. If you're a delegate, that's probably been taken care of, but check with your conference or whatever body you represent to make sure. If you're a youth, visitor, exhibitor, or other interested person, you need to register too. Advanced registration closes on June 16th. When you arrive in Baltimore, you can check in and pick up your name badge and other registration materials as early as Thursday evening, June 29th, at the Convention Center. On-site registration will be available then too. You'll need a place to stay, of course, and if you're a delegate, those arrangements likely have been taken care of for you. To find out where you're staying, probably in one of several nearby hotels downtown, check with your conference or whatever body you're representing to find out what arrangements have been made. Online hotel booking will be open until June 16th. After that, visitors still needing housing can go to ucc.org/synod for advice on what to do to book your own. So what is General Synod anyway? The simplest definition is a meeting of delegates, visitors, and guests from throughout the church held every 2 years. It's often just called Synod for short. But for many who take part in it, it is much more than a meeting. General Synod is, in fact, at least 7 things. General Synod is the church, an occasion for worship and inspiration, a business meeting governed by certain rules, a place for leadership and policy setting, an electing body, an experience, and it is ongoing. First, General Synod is the church. Our Constitution names it as one of 4 official components of the United Church of Christ, along with local churches, associations, and conferences. It's important to note that General Synod is not the basic unit of the United Church of Christ. Synod speaks to and not for the other settings of the church. But that doesn't mean Synod is unimportant. Article 5, paragraph 19 of the Constitution tells us that the actions, decisions, and advice of a synod should be held in the highest regard by every local church. Second, General Synod is a time for worship and inspiration. You'll have frequent worship opportunities, and they're a wonderful introduction to our church's diversity of races, cultures, traditions, and worship styles. Major services happen on Friday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and smaller Bible studies and devotionals are available each day. Third, General Synod is a business meeting governed by certain rules, namely the Synod's own standing rules. Business takes place on the Synod floor in the same large hall of the Convention Center each day. During business sessions, you'll need your delegate credentials to get onto the floor and take your place inside the bar of the house. You'll notice familiar symbols of a business meeting, a podium, a gavel, and even a clock on a projection screen, regulating how long people may speak. Delegates are seated with other members of their delegations. Votes on motions are cast electronically. There is plenty of seating where registered visitors may observe. It's important for delegates to look over the standing rules at ucc.org/synod. They contain details on procedures for motions, nominations, and elections, more on that in a minute, and the roles of the business, reference, and budget committees. For even more detail, check the UCC bylaws, starting with paragraph 187. There you'll find how many delegates come from the conferences, the United Church of Christ Board of Directors, and our church's historically underrepresented groups. And just a few other things about the business atmosphere of the Synod. Its sessions are open to the public and the news media. All visitors must be registered, except those attending community worship on Sunday afternoon, which draws UCC people from churches throughout the host conference. Fourth, General Synod is a place for leadership and policy setting. It sets policy for work carried out by our national ministries. The Synod doesn't tell other settings of the UCC what to do, but it has a definite church-wide leadership role nonetheless. Words such as urge, request, encourage, and recommend can be strongly influential when coming from the national body of the church, and Synod's actions often set a tone. An example of all this is a series of actions and decisions 30 and even 40 years ago about the ordination of openly gay and lesbian persons to ministry. In 1972, no approval of the General Synod was required for William Johnson to become the first openly gay man ordained to the Christian ministry. The Golden Gate Association of the United Church of Christ in California had the authority to take that action. But later Synod actions in 1983, 1985, and other years played important roles in encouraging the entire church to become open and affirming in ordination and membership. That's an example of the leadership and tone-setting role of Synod. Fifth, General Synod is an electing body. It calls the officers of the United Church of Christ by election to staggered four-year terms, and also elects the Synod's own moderator and assistant moderator, and members of the United Church of Christ Board of Directors. Sixth, General Synod is an experience. For some people, it's a life-changing experience, or at least one they don't soon forget. There are remarkable speeches and sermons given by famous people, and ones you've never heard of. There are responses to urgent matters of the world, like when delegates in 1973 got on a plane in the middle of Synod to join striking farm workers on a picket line, or when Archbishop Desmond Tutu joined us in throwing sandbags during the 1993 St. Louis flood. There's the wholeness of the UCC and the global church on full glorious display. You get to meet people from traditions and places new to you. And Synod is a destination and gathering place for individuals, ministries, and groups. Pre-Synod events, optional dining events, the exhibit hall, after-hours events, a service project, all of these give opportunities for our constituencies to meet and celebrate, and for diverse people to get together at work and at table. Seventh, General Synod is ongoing. It adjourns on a summer Tuesday every 2 years, but its work doesn't end. The United Church of Christ Board meets at least twice yearly and may act as the Synod ad interim. Synod may ask the United Church of Christ Board and various national ministries to carry out specific work in its behalf. The moderator and assistant moderator are themselves a symbol of continuity. They serve on the United Church of Christ Board and preside over the meeting of the Synod. And now, a quick overview of what you'll experience at the 2017 Synod in Baltimore. The agenda, the highlights, and the business. First, let me recommend that you take 10 minutes out of one of your days between now and June 30th and spend it looking through the General Synod program and agenda at ucc.org/synod. Knowing the rhythm of the 5 days of Synod will help you get the most out of it. Did you know that delegates need to show up for their educational intensive at 1 p.m. Friday and then go immediately into their committee sessions at 2 p.m.? Do you know Synod will end Tuesday afternoon instead of Tuesday evening to avoid adjourning into the crush of people who will gather in downtown Baltimore for the city's July 4th celebration? Have you seen the interesting list of keynote speakers and preachers and when each of them is scheduled? They're all there, the details that will help you plan ahead. You'll be glad you did. Be sure to find more than one time to visit the exhibit hall in the Convention Center. There you'll find ministry displays, resources, shopping opportunities, refreshments, and plenty of room to sit down and catch up with friends, old and new. You will find all sorts of free information for strengthening your local church, along with unique merchandise in the exhibit hall. On Saturday afternoon, workshops will be held throughout the Convention Center, offering information and education on dozens of topics, ranging from global ministries and justice issues to youth ministry and using social media. See the full schedule at ucc.org/synod, and on the app, which delegates and guests can download in early summer. And now, down to business. Most of the business coming before the Synod will be available for you to study around April 1st, thanks to deadlines met over the winter by the people submitting items and advance work done by the United Church of Christ Board of Directors. You'll find that a couple of hours spent reading carefully through business items between now and June 30th, the earlier the better, will help you feel on top of things, especially if you're a delegate. You'll find them at the Materials tab at the General Synod pages, ucc.org/synod. You'll want to go back more than once. Business and other items will be added right up until the last days before the opening gavel. So let's take a quick look at how the business works. The General Synod Nominating Committee will provide extensive slates of candidates delegates will vote on. Among them are a moderator and an assistant moderator, members of the United Church of Christ Board, and members of the next nominating committee. Election slates are another good piece of homework for delegates. In March, the United Church of Christ Board will review all proposed resolutions received by January 2nd. The board forwards most of these to Synod and classifies each one as a prudential resolution or resolution of witness. Here's the difference. A resolution of witness is about a moral, ethical, or religious matter. It is intended to guide the church's officers or ministries and be considered by other parts of the church. It requires a 2/3 vote. A prudential resolution can be about policy, structure, or procedures, and can authorize programs or request actions. It requires a majority vote. Very occasionally, resolutions come straight to the floor, but most are reviewed by a committee of delegates at Synod. Committees meet Friday afternoon, June 30th. Every delegate is assigned to a committee. Each committee is responsible for reviewing at least one piece of business and making a recommendation to the floor. Check out the standing rules for the choices your committee can recommend. Approve, disapprove, amend, consolidate, refer, or no action. If you want to bring business to Synod after January 2nd, there are 2 more chances and important deadlines and standards to meet. You can still submit a resolution 3 weeks in advance, and you'll need to demonstrate why you could not have anticipated or submitted the resolution by the January deadline. New business can also be introduced on-site at Synod during the opening plenary session on Friday evening, and you'll need to show why you could not have submitted it in advance. All the details about business, types of resolutions, who may submit them, and procedures for considering them can be found in the standing rules of the 31st General Synod. You'll want to look at Rule 11-3. But again, Synod isn't just business. Whether you're a delegate or visitor, think ahead now about ways to get the most out of this amazing gathering of the body of Christ. Come to Baltimore ready to celebrate, study, march, pray, sing, speak, be inspired. Bring the good news of what God is doing where you come from, and return home sharing what you've learned about the United Church of Christ and God's work in the world. Grace and peace to you, and we'll see you in Baltimore.